Marine iguanas are some of the most unusual creatures in the Galapagos. They are a perfect example of the unique evolution and adaptation of Galapagos fauna. They are the only seagoing lizards in the world. Scientists believe that land-dwelling iguanas from South America drifted out to sea millions of years ago on logs or other debris and eventually landed on the Galapagos. From that species emerged marine iguanas, which spread to nearly all the islands of the archipelago. Although the populations on each island vary in size and color, they are all considered to be a single species. The island of Hispaniola has the most colorful iguanas, which have blotches of green and red. The red pigment comes from a type of seaweed they eat, which blooms during the summer months. Marine iguanas are vegetarians, feeding mainly on seaweed near the shore. The biggest males may grow to a length of 4 feet or more and are able to swim out past the breakers and feed underwater. Their dives are typically shallow and last only a few minutes, but some can dive to depths of up to 50 feet and remain submerged for more than half an hour. Marine iguanas possess a variety of physical characteristics that allow their unusual feeding habits. Their tails are flattened and they swim by lateral undulation of their bodies, with their limbs held to the side. Their claws are long and sharp, allowing them to cling to rocks along the shore, and also to cling to their underwater feeding sites. The genus name of the marine iguana, Amblyrhynchus, meaning short nose, is derived from their characteristically blunt snout, which allows them to scrape algae off of rocks more efficiently. Galapagos marine iguanas are active during the day and spend the first few hours after sunrise basking in the sun in preparation for activity. Most will feed once a day, but some of the larger ones will feed only every second or third day. The pattern of daily activity is largely determined by the temperature and the tides. The larger males will usually wait until the middle of the day when the sun is directly overhead and they have had time to warm up before they swim offshore and start diving to feed. The rest of the population starts to feed a little before low tide right along the shoreline. They eat until the tide starts to rise and washes over them. It's quite interesting that two parts of the same population have such different feeding patterns. This is mainly a result of the difficulties of offshore feeding for smaller individuals who cannot store much heat or swim as well. For ectothermic animals like marine iguanas, temperature regulation can be a problem. On land, they normally maintain a body temperature around 35 degrees C. But in the cold Galapagos waters, their body temperature can drop by as much as 10 degrees. In order to minimize this, marine iguanas are able to shunt blood away from their body surface to conserve heat, and they can also drastically reduce their heart rate. Upon returning from the sea, marine iguanas typically lie on the black volcanic rocks to absorb heat. At night, they often sleep in large huddles to conserve heat. During the day, the overheating can also be a problem, and iguanas have a variety of behaviors to minimize this. It's typical to see an iguana sitting on a rock, facing the sun with its body elevated. In this way, it can expose the least amount of its body surface to the sun, and the breeze circulating under its body has a cooling effect. If this is not effective, the iguana will find a shady spot or crawl into a crack in the rocks to hide. While feeding, marine iguanas ingest large amounts of water. Like other iguanas, they possess salt glands, which are located between their eyes and nostrils. These glands concentrate the salt by depositing it in the nostril, where it's then ejected by a sneezing action. This ejection occurs periodically, and it can also be used to warn of intruders.
Some of the marine iguanas are nesting right now. And some of them, they find the trail as one of the options for nesting around. Like this iguana we have here. So they dig down, they leave their eggs, they cover that with a little bit of sand or with rocks if they have it around, and they just wait. On reptiles, there is something amazing, because temperature is going to be the responsible of the determination of the sex of the future reptiles. So we know that now because we play with that in the artificial incubators in the Charles Darwin Research Station. So we know by now that 28 Celsius will end being males and 29 Celsius will end being females. So only 1 degree is gonna make the difference in the sex of these beautiful reptiles. So eventually, famous global warming is going to be very, very good for reptiles. Females are going to be in the power very soon, at least on reptiles.
Marine iguanas live in large colonies throughout most of the year, becoming territorial only in the breeding season. Males vie for the best territories by fighting. This begins with a head bobbing display, usually with their mouths wide open. Head bobbing is a threat gesture that warns other males to stay clear. Eventually, the males charge each other, locking heads and then pushing and shoving. The pushing and shoving are interspersed with breaks for more head bobbing. The loser is either driven away or shows submission by flattening down on his belly. Large males assemble harems of several females and guard the females against intrusion by other males. Males defend mating territories during the 3-month annual breeding season. Females lay 1 to 6 eggs in burrows. The eggs are laid in sand or volcanic ash away from the shoreline. Females guard the burrow for several days, then leave the eggs to finish incubation, which is approximately 95 days. The population numbers of the marine iguana are not well known, but are estimated to be in the hundreds of thousands. They are under constant pressure from non-native predators like rats, feral cats, and dogs who feed on their eggs and young. They are protected throughout the archipelago and are considered vulnerable to extinction.